The same things that are loved about you will be used against you. Unapologetically being yourself will be praised when you're the shiny new thing, but eventually it's going to be used against you. It's why so many players resort to the basic cookie-cutter responses when being asked questions. It'll be the answers like, yeah, they outplayed us, they did all the little things right, props to them, and we'll be ready next game. Anytime they're asked about adjustment, it will be, yeah, they had a great game plan, now it's time for us to adjust, and we'll come out ready next game. It's the same responses every time, which I completely understand, because when you get somebody who is being genuine, it gets used against them. You may not have even meant what you said in the way that people took it, and all of a sudden, every TV show is analyzing a sentence that you said. For example, when Anthony Edwards was asked about being eliminated, and he talked about how this is exciting for him, many people went straight to, he doesn't care. I think there's other ways to look at it. He just feels that he's going to be in this position again, and he can't wait to try and attempt to win again. He even talked about how nobody's going to work harder than him this summer. Now we know that it doesn't always work this way. Making a finals isn't guaranteed that you're going to continue to make it and get opportunities. Injuries and other teams just getting better could prevent you. But you can't stop Ant from feeling that way. He believes he will be back in this position for many years to come, and that's the right mentality to have. His honesty was what made people fall in love with him, and now his honesty is what people are using against him. I wouldn't be surprised if he sees the way people are talking about him on these TV shows and just starts giving the basic media-trained answers or even the Marshawn Lynch treatment to reporters. I've seen so many people criticize a great player like Jason Tatum for not being interesting and just being boring, but they will criticize an interesting player as well. It feels like there's no winning. As far as playstyle goes, I agree that Ant has growing to do and there's still things that he could add to his game, but it feels that sometimes the criticism just isn't fair. Just to pick a game out of the OKC series, in Game 4 he was 5 for 13, and I saw people criticizing him for not taking more shots and not having a killer mentality. That just doesn't make sense to me. His teammates just couldn't miss, so that's who was getting the shots. The offense wasn't the problem in that game. They just couldn't get a stop. There are times where the great player just has to keep shooting, but that wasn't the game to do it. I understand the mentality of go 5 for 30 if you have to, but it depends on how the game is going and whether that's needed. It feels like people pick and choose on how a player is supposed to play. It was Stan Van Gundy who said this on the broadcast of the Pacers-Knicks Game 5, and it was something that I was feeling too. After the Pacers had taken a 3-1 lead over the Knicks, many people had began criticizing Brunson for his play style and how it negatively affects his teammates, and that Haliburton's style of playing that gets his teammates going is the right way to play the game. So then why were these same people wanting Anthony Edwards to shoot every shot when his teammates couldn't miss? If he did that, people would have came on TV and criticized him for not being able to recognize that this is the game to empower your teammates. They would have said that his play style will never translate to a championship because he's a selfish player. And the same thing will happen to Haliburton now, but just in reverse. I understand that Haliburton is a different style of player, but when he has a game where he attempts less than 10 shots and he's scoring less than 12 points or sometimes even single-digit scoring games, which he sometimes does. If you have seen the Pacers play all season, you know he does that sometimes. He will have those low-scoring games where he just doesn't attempt shots. Well, then you see him go up 3-1 on the Knicks and have a historic performance along the way. He will now get propped up, and now people will talk about how his play style is the way to play. But when he has those games where he reverts back to a lower-scoring game, they will ask for the killer mentality. Well, you just said his style of play is the right way, but now when things aren't going right, you want him to play like Brunson? It went from people making fun of Haliburton at the Olympics and how he shouldn't have even been there or he took this guy's spot. And then a poll comes out calling him overrated, and now people push back on it. And now that he's playing well, they'll say the poll was wrong, but when he doesn't perform to their standards, and they'll notice him more now because they're actually paying attention to him, they'll say that maybe the poll was right. It really is just the media building you up just so they can have somebody to tear down. Anthony Edwards didn't ask to be compared to Michael Jordan, even though I think people take that out of context a lot. When people compare players to legends, they don't necessarily mean that this player will have the legacy of the legend, but just that the player reminds them of said legend. I will see a draft prospect being compared to a great player, and people automatically start talking about how that young player will never be as good as that legend, but are too dense to understand or just don't want to understand that the comparison is being done to compare their play style and who they remind them of. If a player gets compared to Steph Curry, that doesn't mean they're saying that this player is going to win 2 MVPs, 4 rings, and become the greatest shooter ever. The Jordan comparisons I just took as people seeing similarities in play style, his attitude, and some people just thinking, yeah, they actually look alike. They didn't say he was as good as him, and it feels like these expectations even cause fans and some media members to root for the downfall of these players because their precious legend was compared to a young up-and-comer. He has things to work on, but he has far exceeded my expectations the last 2 years, and if he continues to work, which I have no doubt he will, he's going to continue to improve. His goal this season was clearly to become a better three-point shooter, and it's not like he just cast a spell to magically become that. It was clear that the three-point shooting was his main focus, and it showed on the court. So if he begins to develop his mid-range game even further, improve his playmaking, which I already believe he has improved, but there's ways to go, I'm excited for his future. It shouldn't be a surprise why players don't care or even want to be looked at as the face of the league. While criticism is warranted, especially when a great player plays bad, some of the criticism at times just feels silly. These conversations that I see about Tatum that analysts are having are just silly. Now that doesn't mean I'm saying his game can't be criticized. There are times when I get frustrated watching him, but just painting him to be a boring, not interesting player, and then labeling a guy like Ant, who is interesting, that he's just all hype, when he's exceeded expectations, is silly to me. It's interesting to think about, would Ant have received the same criticism had he lost to the Lakers in the first round? The Lakers were the favorites in that series, and had he lost, it feels like he wouldn't have received the criticism he's receiving now, and it would have just been chalked up to, well, he lost to Luka and LeBron. He's young, he'll improve. Well, he lost to an all-time great defense, and he struggled at times, but to act like he's overrated now is insane to me. Now, if you took the Michael Jordan comparisons literally, and you're expecting 2 3-peats, well, I'm here to tell you that probably won't happen. The NBA media is full of, like Kevin Durant said, hot take artists. The same qualities they love about a player in one game are the same qualities they hate about a player the next game. I'm going to continue to enjoy these players and their evolution, but it's clear that some people, especially the ones on TV, just watch these games to come up with takes that give them the most attention, whether they believe it or not.